Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. She found her passion for flying in the early 1920s, buying her very first plane, a Kenner Airster, in 1921, which would then be named the Canary. 2 years later, she obtained her pilot's license. It was in the Canary that she set her first women's record of rising to an altitude of 14,000 feet. In 1928, Earhart was asked to join pilot Will Soltz and co-pilot Louis Gordon on a flight across the Atlantic Ocean. The flight lasted roughly 21 hours, making a successful journey from Trepassey Harbor, Newfoundland to Buryport, Wales. This was a remarkable achievement, as 3 previous attempts to become the first woman to fly across the Atlantic proved to be fatal. Once the trio arrived back in the United States, they were met with a parade to honor them, and President Calvin Coolidge hosted a reception for them at the White House. It was also during this time where she and George Putnam, a book publicist who worked with the 1928 trio, began to develop a relationship. By 1931, the two were married. Even after marriage, Earhart was intent on retaining her independence and continued her career under her maiden name. She even went as far as calling their marriage a partnership with dual control, which was not commonly heard of during this time period. President Herbert Hoover awarded her with the Gold Medal from the National Geographic Society, and Congress presented her with the Distinguished Flying Cross, the first one to be given to a woman. Along with Earhart's achievements in the sky, she advocated for the equality of men and women. In 1929, Amelia helped found an organization of female pilots that would later be known as the 99s. She also debuted a functional clothing line for The Women Who Lives Actively in 1933. Earhart's passion for gender equality in the aviation community inspired many and continues to inspire young women today. As time progressed, Amelia was inspired to overcome more seemingly impossible challenges. In 1935, she became the first pilot ever to successfully fly solo from Hawaii to California. Later that year, she became the first solo pilot to fly from Los Angeles to Mexico City. Earhart seemed to be unstoppable. Earhart's final flight was supposed to be her greatest achievement, a flight across the globe. She set out with her navigator Fred Noonan on June 1, 1937, from Miami. The trip was supposed to be roughly 29,000 miles. On June 29th, the pair reached New Guinea and had traveled roughly 22,000 miles. The next stop was supposed to be Howland Island, a small island in the mid-Pacific. Late into the journey, Earhart issued a statement that the plane was running low on fuel. Then, an hour later, her last transmission was simply, "We are running north and south." The search for Earhart and Noonan was ceased on July 19, 1937. The U.S. government spent $4 million on this rescue and scoured roughly 250,000 square miles of the ocean in hopes of finding the pair. However, nothing was ever found. Earhart's legacy has not dwindled since 1937. In 1938, a lighthouse was erected on Howland Island in honor of Earhart and her journey. She is still remembered to this day as an avid supporter of the Equal Rights Amendment. From a young age, she challenged gender roles and kept news clippings of successful women from a variety of fields. Amelia was also intent on being able to support herself even after she married George Putnam. She said that her solo flight across the Atlantic proved that men and women were equal in jobs requiring intelligence, coordination, speed, coolness, and willpower. Not once did Amelia let her gender define what she could do as a pilot. A famous quote from Amelia written in a letter to her husband in case she did not return from her flight around the world that served to inspire many women was, "Please know that I am quite aware of the hazards. I want to do it because I want to do it. Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be but a challenge to others." Taking after Earhart's legacy, Geraldine Mock became the first woman to fly successfully across the globe in 1964. Between 1937 and 1964, though, many women came forward inspired by Earhart to become air traffic controllers, military pilots, astronauts, and more.